Hello. Oh, no.
There you are. Hello.
Waiting,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear
waiting
me?
for audio to initialize.
Oh, can you
There
hear
we
me?
go.
How about
Now I can hear you.
now? Okay. Yes. I want to
How are
send
you
you
this
my
morning?
version of what I want to say to these people
Yep.
because they're not getting through. I'm not getting through to them. Like really not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they really think that it has to do on my side. And I know it doesn't because
No.
I used my password to
Mm-hmm.
get in.
That's right.
And it
Yeah,
was
they
already
are.
gone.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they are not.
I don't know.
They're not. Well, they're low IQ people, so we're having
So
to
it was
deal
a
with
new
that.
person again to this time.
Yep, I saw that.
They put a woman in this time.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. We'll handle that. Atomic Wallet is definitely not our friend right now. Did you manage to get your stuff out of there, Jennifer?
I did actually, yes.
Good.
Thank
Good.
God.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for the heads up. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry you're dealing with that. That sucks. 2 thumbs down.
Brutal. 2 thumbs down. Thank you. And that is for you, Atomic Wallet. You suck. Like, it's okay
Get
to
off
suck.
of the
It
platform.
really is.
Run.
It is okay to suck, but don't actually refuse to admit it. Like, don't
Exactly. Yeah.
and don't gaslight your users saying that it's their fault when clearly you have a vulnerability in your software.
Yeah, and even you know what? That's just bad customer service. Even if it is the customer's fault, you try and fix it and you don't tell the customer it's their fault.
Right.
Especially when there's quite a bit of money involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's just,
mind you, even if there's a little money involved, it still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Make your customer happy.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
how do they get paid? So Atomic Wallet itself, how does that app get paid? Or the people who develop it and run it and
swap fees.
Customer service. Sorry?
Swap fees.
Oh.
Yeah, because they want you to use their wallet to swap, right? And if you can use their wallet to swap, there's a portion of that that goes into, you know, the treasury. Hello, Denise.
Morning.
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 How are you?
My suggestion is swap out and run.
Yeah, exactly. Atomic Wallet is a disaster. Really. Like, I can't believe how much they actually refuse to have customer service. That's what really amazes me. Like, they don't even care if you're their customer. Obviously.
That sounds like Index to me.
Yeah. It's true.
I feel like I'm a leper.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. Let's do some quick updates here. I'll just read off a bunch of different ones from Virtual Bacon here. BlackRock is up to no good. They've now launched iShares. It's a spot Bitcoin ETF on CBO. Now, I'm not familiar with this platform. Must be an exchange of some sort. CBO Canada under the IBIT symbol, which expands Bitcoin investment access for Canadian investors. Now, this will be for accredited investors only. Whenever we were dealing with BlackRock offerings, you have to be an accredited investor in order to partake in that. But there you have it. They are now launching ETFs in Canada. Tether is going to Bitcoin Tether is a stable coin, USDT, And the purpose for that is for people to quickly be able to have their money back in fiat without having to go back to a bank. So they basically created a token, put it on blockchain, and that token is tethered to the US dollar. And so Tether is saying that they're going to relocate their headquarters to El Salvador, after obtaining a license as a digital asset service provider, citing the nation's pro-crypto policies. So El Salvador, it's true, El Salvador has been integrating cryptos in with their nation state. And Tether is saying that that nation is good for them to go move their operations there. So that'll be because of taxes and because of the way that the country is managing the regulations. Next, what else is in here? Oh, yeah, this is interesting. So Coinbase made an application request for crypto-specific regulations because it's a different asset. It's a different kind of asset than what is typically being approved by the Security Commission. And so they made an application for some laws to be changed because, hey, this is a legitimate way for people to actually store their value in a digital currency. And the Security Commission denied the application, saying, no, basically, no, we don't care about you. Well, the U.S. court this week actually came up with a ruling telling the Security Commission they have to give all of the reasons why they denied the application. Before they just said no. Well, now the court is saying, well, these people, they went through Coinbase went through the correct procedures to go through with this, and now because of how much people are utilizing this, obviously it's important that you now provide a reason why Coinbase can't have why there can't be any regulations around Bitcoin, why you're not considering their application. So that's an interesting one. Donald Trump, though, he plans executive orders to be written on it within crypto policies on his first day. So, let's not worry about Dr. Reiner Fulmick, who is in solitary confinement for exposing crimes against humanity committed by the World Health Organization. No. Let's not help that man come out of solitary confinement so that he can live a normal life for doing the most important work for humanity today. No. Let's not worry about liberating the people of Gaza from being bombarded by bombs and drones that are funded by the Israeli military. Let's not worry about any of the most important things that need to be done for the people of North America to have to exercise more freedom of rights over their property. No. Let's just make sure that we get some executive orders for crypto policies on the first day after the inauguration. For me, that's just a further confirmation that he has no intent of serving the people.
Yeah.
FTX. 1416. Oh, somebody, what's that?
Sorry, my phone was ringing.
I'll
turn my volume off.
Yeah, no worries. FTX is that exchange that got busted there a couple of years ago, laundering. Well, and again, they all do it. FTX got busted, and so it's famous for that. But it is now beginning to distribute $1.2 billion to creditors. Will begin distributing $1.2 billion to creditors post-Trump inauguration. So after Trump is inaugurated, not before, no, we're going to wait till after Trump is inaugurated before we start paying people back for all the money that we stole, and to the tune of $1.2 billion to start. What they're doing that because they're hoping that it will spark reinvestment into cryptos and market growth throughout 2025. FTX. JP Morgan CEO actually criticized Bitcoin for being a Ponzi scheme this week, lacking intrinsic value despite Bitcoin reaching $100,000, and that BlackRock and Vanguard and JP Morgan, oh yeah, that's right, the company that he's a CEO of, are utilizing ETFs, which is the biggest Ponzi scheme you can probably imagine. Saying Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, that's the pot calling the kettle black. BlackRock reports highlights crypto's rapid growth, amassing 300 million users in 12 years, faster than mobile phones.
Wow.
Yeah, mobile phones took 21 years to get to 300 million users. And the internet even took 15 years to get to 300 million users. And so crypto is outpacing that. Now, this is crucial because it was probably about this time last year that I had written an article that talked about the 5 main areas, the 5 emerging markets that we're seeing coming into this 4th industrial revolution. And the first one at the top of the list was blockchain. So blockchain is a big one. So yes, absolutely. This is huge. This is going to be bigger than anything we've ever had digitally, simply because of what it is able to accomplish. So yes, it's going to be very, 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 very popular. Other 4, if you're interested, nanotechnology, synthetic biology, and of course bubbles, because the balloons, because you can tell Apple not to do that all you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't give a shit. It wants to use AI to I look at this settings and it literally says that feature is turned off, and yet it still continues. So nanotechnology, synthetic biology, we also have quantum computing, another emerging market. A lot of people think it's dead, which right now it is. But it's like anything else. It gets developed. And right now we don't even have manufacturing plants that are able to develop chips that can process the information at the speed at which they're saying quantum computing can accomplish. So while everything right now is still in theory, we're waiting for the chip manufacturers to catch up with the times. So that's another emerging market. So I got blockchain, nanotechnology, synthetic biology, quantum computing, and then of course AI. So the 5 of those 5 emerging markets are going to be what drive the 4th industrial revolution forward. But what's the commonality between all of them?
Technology.
Yep. And specifically, there's a commodity that they all require in order for them to function, and that's data. Data is the commodity of the future. In fact, I'm going to share with you guys something. This is on my X profile. This is something that people need to really get. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen as well so that it can be seen for everybody here as well. Toe-curling dystopian movie plot. If you disagree, read it twice. After the digital world takes over, the entire metaverse goes entirely feudal. Data becomes the #1 commodity backing all economic activity, effectively redefining the term human resource. Massive corporations convince governments to associate their metaverse's citizenry with how they use their data. Social credit scores. Even so much as issuing identities that track people by the value of their data. How? It's easy. The biggest companies would collect millions of users by offering them access to spending accounts where they could buy what they needed to thrive in the metaverse where they started playing. They created little microeconomies using fake tokens to incentivize the masses into becoming little data miners as an elaborate experiment. The movie starts in a more civilized metaverse where the experiment worked and the value of people's data had been so expertly optimized that the people consented to their own slavery, spending data wherever they thought it would give them more happiness. Stockholm Syndrome at its finest. The opening scenes are so absurd. You can tell through the people's manner of speech, these postmodern slaves believe in earnest that if the wrong president gets elected, their favorite tokens will drop in value, and everyone would need to spend more data out of their daily quota to be able to have enough money to live. And other metaverses could end up with power to take away some of our data through conquest. So they faithfully held elections every 4 years and usually settled to vote for whoever they thought would be the lesser of two evils. But that's not the worst of it. You would even see a whole subculture who think their native metaverse is the best one, and that bad people from other metaverses are infiltrating them, and they'll say ridiculous things like they shouldn't be allowed to have data here at all. I wish we had a president who could limit their data here. And they would helplessly fall for the marketing campaigns where overlords would recruit teams of people and go to other metaverses and take as much data from the bad guys as they could. Sure, there were socially and economic outcasts. Oh, there were social and economic outcasts who refused to buy into this obvious scam. When you meet the protagonist, you realize he's ineligible for a social credit score and willfully lives in abject poverty. And you wonder why he doesn't give in and simply dedicate some data to the system so that he could have an ID in the metaverse and have the capacity to benefit from all its services, providing reprieve from his plight. The mystery is revealed, though. He's part of a secret movement working underground for years, creating a data machine. They call it HAL. It's pronounced Al, and the H is silent. But if you look at Al, it's actually also the initials for AI. And HAL is the reference to Space Odyssey 2000. It takes them a few years to learn how to use it at first, but every version they made had innovations and improvements. And eventually the data machine is so user-friendly, everyone has one in their house. Anyone could essentially print their data. Of course, with Stockholm Syndrome, people's voluntary slavery was woven into their daily language. And to economic slaves, the data machine was dangerous. Most people believed the data machine was going to take their jobs. And they elected people to govern the entire industry of data printers, and they regulated citizen use of it based on the social credit scores associated with their metaverse's player ID. And to entice the poor to vote, they demonized capitalism and promised the greedy would end up paying for social services so they could be free. And to get the working class to vote, they demonized other metaverses and programmed them to be more patriotic. It didn't matter what kind of metaverse someone wanted. They were voting for the same programmers. And if neighbors didn't vote similarly, they were enemies trying to get the same metaverse megacorporation to manage the value of everyone's data and tell the other how they were and weren't allowed to use it. All because they believed the toxic mind virus. Data equals money. They had no frame of reference to see the truth. They were not only consenting to their own slavery, they insisted on electing its perpetuation. It's a small wonder they couldn't see the true power of the data printer. So this movie follows the leaders of the Renaissance and how they help free the minds of their fellow neighbors who are absolutely terrified at the thought of taking off their VR goggles. Some even lash back in blind rage when they're told that they could play a different game. These pioneers of the data printing machine end up safeguarding property rights over all their data and showing others how to do the same for themselves, effectively ending the slavery. I don't want to spoil the ending. I'd hate to ruin it for you. But the metaverse megacorps end up committing mass murder with an experimental bioweapon, and the people are corralled into making an existential choice. Number one, create their own identity, or remain in a codependent relationship with the metaverse developer and have their identity governed by someone else. Now, if you think that my pitch for this movie sucked, I couldn't agree more, but likely for different reasons. Read it again, but this time replace the word data with time, and you'll see why. And the name of the movie would be Paradigm Wars. So we're going to just quickly go through this again. But this time I'm going to replace the word data with time. And then you'll see what this revolution, or rather this renaissance, is really about. After the digital world takes over and the entire metaverse goes entirely feudal, time becomes the number one commodity backing all economic data, effectively redefining the term human resource. Massive corporations convince governments to associate their metaverse's citizenry with how they use their time, even so much as issuing identities that track people by the value of their time. How? Well, it's easy. The biggest companies would collect millions of users by offering them accounts where they could buy what they needed to thrive in the metaverse where they started playing. They created little microeconomies using fake tokens to incentivize the masses into becoming little time miners. It's an elaborate experiment. The movie starts off in a more civilized metaverse where the experiment worked and the value of people's time had been so expertly optimized that people consented to their own slavery, spending time wherever they thought it would give them more happiness. Stockholm Syndrome at its finest. The opening scenes are so absurd, you can tell through the people's manner of speech. These postmodern slaves believe in earnest that if the wrong president gets elected, their favorite token is going to drop in value, and everyone would need to spend more time out of their daily quota to be able to have enough money to live. And other metaverses could end up with the power to take away some of our time through conquest. And so they faithfully held elections every 4 years, and they usually settled to vote for whoever they thought would be the lesser of two evils. But that's not the worst of it. You'd even see a whole subculture who think that their native metaverse is the best and that bad people from other metaverses are infiltrating. And they'll say things like, oh, they shouldn't be allowed to have time here at all. And I wish we had a president who would limit their time here. And helplessly fall for the marketing campaigns where overlords would recruit teams of people, go to other metaverse, and try to take as much time from the bad guys as they can. Sure, there were social and economic outcasts who refused to buy into this obvious scam. And when you meet the protagonist, you realize he's ineligible for a social credit score and willfully lives in abject poverty. And you wonder why he doesn't give in and simply dedicate some time to the system so he could have an ID in the metaverse and have the capacity to benefit from services providing reprieve from his plight. The mystery is revealed that he's part of a secret movement working underground for years, creating a time machine. They call it HAL. It takes them a few years to learn how to use it at first, but every version they made had innovations and improvements. And eventually the time machine is so user-friendly, everyone has one in their house. Anyone could essentially print time. Of course, with Stockholm Syndrome, people's voluntary slavery was woven into their daily language. To economic slaves, the time machine was dangerous. Most people believed the time machine was going to take away their jobs. And so they elected people to govern the entire industry of time printers and regulate citizen use of it based on the social credit scores associated with their metaverse's player ID. To entice the poor to vote, They demonized capitalism and promised the greedy would end up paying for social services so they could be free. To get the working class to vote, they demonized other metaverses and programmed them to be more patriotic. And it didn't matter what kind of metaverse someone wanted. They were voting for the same programmers. And if the neighbors didn't vote similarly, they were enemies, trying to get the same metaverse mega corporation to manage the value of everyone's time and tell the other how they were and were not allowed to use it because they believed the toxic mind virus. Time is money. And they had no frame of reference to see the truth. They were not only consenting to their own slavery, they insisted on electing its perpetuation. It's a small wonder they didn't see the true power of the time printer. So this movie follows the leaders of the Renaissance and how they've helped free the minds of their fellow neighbors who are absolutely terrified at the thought of taking off their VR goggles. Some even lash back in blind rage when they're told that they could play a different game. These pioneers of the time printing machine end up safeguarding property rights all over their time, showing others how to do the same for themselves, effectively ending the slavery. And I don't want to spoil the ending. I hate to ruin it for you. But the metaverse megacorps end up committing mass murder with an experimental bioweapon, and the people are corralled into making an existential choice. Create their own identity or remain in a codependent relationship with the metaverse developer and have their identity governed by someone else. Now, why did I write this? The reason why I wrote this is because time itself is becoming a commodity that is becoming worthless. And how do we know this? Because the vast majority of the economics of the past have been based off of the time that people are willing to spend in service to make the fiat money that they have to pay taxes in order to earn. How ridiculous.
Can I interject here for a second, Paul?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
So has anybody ever watched the Justin Timberlake movie In Time?
I know I haven't, no.
So very scary movie. And exactly what you're talking about with time is they have a time machine, and you know that movies kind of dictate what's coming.
Yeah, there's predictive programming.
So they have right? And really, it's kind of about a guy who's struggling to work really hard to make his time.
Yeah.
To be able to live.
Mm-hmm.
And he meets this really wealthy guy who has lots of time, who's lived a long time, who's kind of done with living. He hands it to him, right?
Wow.
And if he has, but he has to get to his mother because his mother's running out of time.
Ah, okay.
It sounds exactly what you're talking about right there.
Yep. We become slaves to this commodity of time, and it is all of our time spent on the system that the banking system needs to have. If we don't give it, they don't have anything.
You should watch that movie. It's
I
like
look forward to it.
Yeah, it's called In Time, and it's with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why the value of time is dropping to nothing. It's literally falling out from itself. Like, we take a look at these charts. If time had a value, we'd be starting to see the free fall drop, like panic set in mode right now, because time is becoming worthless. And we know this because let's use the example of legal firms right now. Legal firms today are laying off legal assistants by the truckload. And the reason why is because you tell a legal assistant what to do for half a day, and you got to pay them $200, $150 to work that half a day, to work on that draft, to get it ready for, the first reading. So these assistants are being laid off by the truckload because now for $100 a month, not for half a day to draft one thing. No. For $100 a month, you can tell a machine to draft the legal documents. And it will do better than the amount of time spent by the legal assistant. And of course, you can tell that machine at $100 a month to write 150 legal drafts in one day. So the value of time is dropping, it's literally free falling right now. That's what this economic shift is all about. That's what this great reset is all about. We are literally replacing the human resource known as time with the next emerging human resource, which is data. And whether we like it or not, it's irrelevant. The momentum going in this direction has been there since the 90s, when we put all of these printing presses in our houses and started networking them together. Of course, when you network computers together, you're eventually going to come up with AI. It just logically makes sense. The digital revolution is here, and time is being replaced as the number one commodity. By the way, number one commodity is the human resource of time, is being replaced with data. Because that little $100 machine, if you break it down, even the machine itself doesn't get paid by the minute or the hour or the month. Sure, you might have a subscription by the month, but that's not how AI gets paid. AI gets paid by the bit, not by time. So it literally, the denomination of exchange now is data. That's why I do this dystopian movie plot idea talking about data, but then getting people to reread it and replace data with time, because that's what's going on. We have the ability now with these machines to create the number one commodity in the world and call it our property. That's power. And the principle is the same as what we did with our time. We sacrificed our time. We spent our time in the system, giving our energy and our all of our money to that system based on our time. And see, people say, no, because, some people get jobs where they're getting $20,000 a month. Some people are getting jobs where it's $2,000 a month. So no, it's still based on time, because now you're just changing the value of the time of the individual. But now the value of the time of the individual is being replaced because so many people don't have to work in front of these computers. And the vast majority of work that's being done, especially in legal stuff, is in front of a computer. Take a look at how many other industries are out there. Insurance, programming, all of this, everything. And you think about it, people say, well, I don't think time is the number one commodity in the world, because you got things like food. Like food is the biggest thing, because if you don't have that, we got nothing. Yeah, okay, so you're gonna need to have food. Gold is another big commodity, right? People think gold is probably one of the bigger commodities. Well, that's true as well. It's a huge commodity and it has tons of utilitarian value. And the market cap on gold is massive. There's no question. However, in order for that gold to be above ground and in a form or in a state that allows people to interact with it and use its value, to actually have use of it, you need to spend a lot of money on people's time to bring it out of the ground. So the human the commodity, that human resource that has been harvested for hundreds and hundreds of years now, time, is becoming worthless. That's why they wanted us to be social distanced. That's why they made things like I call it the 10 billion. This is an iPhone 3, by the way, like one of the very first iPhone. This iPhone is a $10 billion weapon because it's isolated us, and it has also gotten us to be accustomed to trading our data for money instead of our time. And now the Great Reset is upon us. And NVIDIA just announced this week, was that yesterday, I think? They said that by spring, they intend to ship little computers. They're $3,000. You can buy it and put it in your house. And the intention that they have is for you to train that AI, that machine, how to use your computer for you. So, you know, the time it takes to use one of these things, this is extremely inefficient use of your time, by the way. The mouse, it's one of the worst things that you could do for time management is use a mouse. It's better to use shortcut keys because you can just quickly do that without having to move the mouse across the screen and pinpoint the actual thing and then click. All of that is unnecessary when you have a machine that can do it for you. It doesn't need to use a mouse. It just selects the menu item, opens it up. That machine is going to take the value of time and make it plummet even further. And as the wealth transfer occurs from the commodity of time into the commodity of data, data is going to go through the roof because all of that commodity is being transferred over. More and more work is going to be passed on to AI. More and more work is going to be passed on to machines, and it's going to do a lot of the labor that we have going on. It's going to be, and this is my intention, is that by the end of 2025, the only reason I'm standing in front of a computer, or the only reason I've got light, like, because these blue lights coming from these monitors here, they're actually damaging our retinas as well. So it's a weapon. These devices are weapons. The time that we spend in front of these screens should be connecting with people directly, like what we are now. That's the only reason we should be using these things, spending any time in front of them at all. The data part, the machine can do that. Thank you very much. It is a renaissance beyond our comprehension today. We have no idea what this is going to look like after. We can come up with speculations, but there is nothing that, honestly, there's nothing we have to compare it to. This digital revolution that started in the 90s, well, arguably in the 70s, when they were starting to put these computers together in garages, like the Steve Jobses and the Bill Gateses, when they were putting their computers together, that started it. But by the end of the 80s, they knew already, okay, this internet thing is going to be going all over the place. And so they put it in our homes. Like, I think I remember first connecting to the internet at my grandmother's in like 92 or 93. And then in 94, we were able to get it with dial-up internet out rurally. That was the end. You know, it's kind of like the momentum had already taken effect. It's kind of like the 15-minute cities, right? A lot of people in Edmonton talk about how much they don't like 15-minute cities, but they absolutely refused to listen to me talk about 15-minute cities in 2014 and 15 when I was saying, hey guys, 15-minute cities are coming. And people would say, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So often far into the future, they can't conceptualize it. But the budget for the ring road, which by the way is that 15-minute city radius, the ring road around Edmonton, the budget for that was approved in the 90s in accordance with Agenda 21, which is a public document that you can get and read and look at, see, and you can see how the countries have positioned themselves for that. And now for Agenda 2030. Again, public document tells you exactly what their plans are. It sounds bad because we're thinking to ourselves, I don't want to trust computers to, this sounds like Terminator crap. Like machines are going to be taking over the world. Yeah, you know what? It could look that way. But remember that if someone is feeding you a message of fear, it's because they want to control you. That's the only reason that they give you a message of fear. There's actually very little to fear about AI. We have more to fear from ourselves, really. Like, look at how terrible we treat each other across the planet. I'm not saying we as in, us. I shouldn't even use that collectively. Human beings are incredibly cruel to each other. That is a bigger issue than what is AI capable of. AI is capable of bad things, don't get me wrong, but the only reason it can is because it operates on parameters, just parameters, that's it. Well, the only parameters it has to go by is us. So if we don't like AI, that's our fault. That's our problem. It's just reflecting back to us who we've been. And so the good news behind this is that I believe the good news behind this is that we are now going to be witnessing in real time, immediate feedback, the consequences of us living out of integrity with people in our lives. Why? Because we now have a digital mirror. And it's a lot easier to see the nature of humanity when you can see the nature of something that only has humanity's parameters with which to complete its directives. So my call to action when I share this kind of a message is, first, privatize your data. Privatize it because it's yours. You're the one creating it. So privatize it. That way it can't be taken from you. That way it can't be stolen. That way you're not mining it for someone else. And just think of the mining analogy, right? Like I talk about the miner's friend that was invented in the late 1300s, which was the first steam engine. It was made of wood. The pistons and the rods and everything was made of wood. And that little pump pumped water out of mine shafts so that people, human beings, wouldn't have to go down in there and fish the water out, risking life and limb, fishing water out of mine shafts so that they can extract the minerals and gold. That little miner's friend, the first steam engine, it was called the miner's friend because now the miners didn't have to risk their lives going down there. They didn't have to trade their time. Dangerous. They didn't have to spend any danger time risking their lives. So this thing became their friend. I am sure, though, because based on human nature, I'm sure that some miner out there somewhere said obstinately that, oh my goodness, this machine is going to take away my job. I'm quite certain he said that, but someone would have said that because look at what's going on today. People are looking at AI saying AI is going to take our jobs. Okay, and the problem with that is exactly what? Oh, I see what it is. And this is usually the point. This is usually the point. People who are scared of losing their jobs, the reason why is because they're scared they can't do anything else with their lives. That's what it boils down to. It's because they've attached their identity to what they do with their time. The worst way that you could possibly identify yourself. So My call to action, especially with the NextGen merchants, is to help people see that they now have a whole new horizon of possibility. They could go over here. 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 They could go over there. They could go anywhere they want now with their time. The world is their oyster. Whereas before, they had the mindset that this is all they could do. All they could do was be a plumber. That little tiny bandwidth of horizon was their only possibility. But now when you take a look at all the different possibilities of things that they could do, spending their time in order to make money, to trade their time for money, now they can get a machine to do it. Well, that opens up a whole new perspective. There's a whole new horizon awaiting us as humanity. Why? Because we're not having to be slaves now. We're not having to go down into mine shafts, trading our time for money, sometimes even risking life and limb. Think about it. For as much work that I've done over the last 4 years in front of this computer screen, helping people with non-compliance, because that's my specialty, is helping people with lawful non-compliance. Well, that whole time that I spent in the last 4 years, 15, 16, 20-hour days sometimes sitting in front of the computer, burning my retinas. I have now realized over the last 3-4 months especially how much vision I'm losing. Thankfully, I don't have to wear glasses yet, and I'm hoping I don't have to, because there are things that we can do to regenerate these eyeballs. And again, I'm not saying everybody has this problem. By no means does everybody spend that kind of time in front of the screen. But I'm using this as the comparison to going down into the mine shaft and risking your life and limb to pull water out of the mine shaft. All I'm doing is I'm mining data, and I'm using my eyeballs to do it. That's all I'm doing. Now I can get a machine to do it for me. Why? Thank you. That means I'll be able to help more people. Why? Because now a machine can do all of the work that I would normally have to do sitting in front of the screen. And my time is going to become worth nothing, which really, in reality, time isn't worth money at all. We have this idea, this programming that time is money, and it's not true. It's a lie. Time is not money. It's a lie. It's one of the lies that perpetuates the slavery. What is money if it's not time? What do you guys think? What is money if it's not time?
Shackles. They're shackles.
Especially if we're defining it as a value of someone's worth. Right? Oh, how much are you worth? Oh, how much money do you have? Oh, what are you making? These are common phrases that we hear every single day because we have been accustomed and programmed to defining who we are, our very identity around it.
It's a trap.
It is. Money, when it comes right down to it, money is simply whatever two people agree is the means of exchange for an energy received or given. And to the degree that the receiver of the money provides value in exchange, the integrity of that exchange is complete. It's kind of like, oh, well, we went out and got these books, right? Because we're doing the book study. So, that's reversed. But Ayn Rand, we're reading Atlas Shrugged together. Well, the book is only $15.99 Canadian. But what's it worth? On the price tag, it says $15.99. But this book made me millions of dollars. Right? So the money is just whatever we agree needs to be exchanged right there. That's all it is. It's just a means of exchange.
What's the book?
Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
Atlas. I can't. Atlas.
Atlas Shrugged. Here, I'll mirror my camera so that it comes up.
It's still. I can't. Can you just write it in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that book study once a week. I planned it out. I figured out that how many pages there are, and then I counted it out. For us to finish it in 6 months, because it's 1,000 pages. For us to finish it in 6 months, we're going to need to read 5 to 6 pages a day. And then what we'll do is that on Sundays in the mornings, we'll get together and we'll just review what we've read and talk about what we've learned about what we're reading. And I've read this book 4 times, twice out loud. So so I know it very, very well, and I have a lot that I can bring to the table. And the reason why we're going through this book is because it explains very explicitly, with almost excruciating detail sometimes, why we're going through what we're going through today. But it was written in the 50s.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why we're going to go through this book, because it's very transformational for the mind to recognize how it is that we got into this situation, and then also safeguard our lives from those toxins so that we can then build a world that we can be proud of. All in this book here. So that's what we're going to go through.
Just write it in the chat and I'll get a copy. Do you have it?
Sure,
Jennifer?
Yeah. We got, Audrey got hers as well from Chapters. Like I say, $15.99. Very, very good book to have in the library. Okay, there we go. I just threw it in the private chat.
Oh, it's Ayn Rand. Okay, I've read stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got a lot of good ones. There's The Fountainhead. There's We the Living. This one here is really comprehensive. This novel here, very, very comprehensive, and she presents her arguments in more totality than with the other writings. Another one that's really good for shifting mindset, like almost like flipping the script on you, is The Virtue of Selfishness. Incredible book. And it's not really a book. It's a series of essays that were written across probably 10 years of her work. So, yeah, that's kind of a different market analysis. Today is more of a mastermind on what's going on, where we're headed. When it comes to the markets, folks, things are still kind of chopping around at the moment. We've got, just looking here, gold, silver are down. Dow Jones has come up a little bit. Yeah, I'll share some charts here before we get going. I do have to get going here because I do have an 8:30 appointment, and I want to get breakfast in before then. And of course my camera's mirrored, so it's all messed up. Hang on a second. There we go.
And you were going to chat with me for a couple of minutes before you had your breakfast.
That's right. You and I are going to quickly chat about your community that you have. Yeah. Okay, so here's the global 30. We had that dip down here over the last couple days, and then this morning, basically, what was it, this last night? No, it was actually starting yesterday morning. It started to rally back, and then we're seeing it hover around there right now. Dow Jones also came up from a low. Because again, we come back to this whole voting thing. Right now, it feels like, and this is the general consensus amongst the people that are analyzing this on a more micro level. It's believed that the insecurity on, you know, Trump coming in, I think people think that there's going to be a lot of unrest. In fact, there very well may be. Apparently, the White House and the what do they call not the White House, the Senate, the building where the Senate is. I can't remember what the name of that building is, but for the inauguration, they are calling for teams like EMR, emergency response teams, like no tomorrow. They're wanting to have it like triple what it was last time. So, you know, whether or not that's just them trying to get more fear, inject some fear into the media, you know, that's a nice little injection of fear when they can make it look like there's an emergency coming. They could be doing that, or legitimately they could be planning another January 6th type of event, or who knows. So I think that instability of, you know, what is it going to look like? What's this inauguration going to be? This is monumental, and people are analyzing it out the wazoo. And so we may be experiencing still all of this, this delay in the price action that we anticipated simply because of the inauguration. And I think I posted in Telegram, if I remember correctly. Maybe I did or didn't. I don't know. Let's go see real quick. Nope, I didn't post it in here. I'm going to share a graphic that I cut here the other day. Screenshots. Oh, no, that's not it. Where did it go? I brought up an image and it was showing the graph of Bitcoin after, right after the inauguration the last time, and just how there was a delay. It was kind of rising and building some momentum right before inauguration, and then it was at the inauguration where it just took right off. So that's probably what we're waiting for when it comes to it. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do for now. And yeah, I'll stop the live stream here.